Okay guys, today we are going to be doing problem 32B. This can be found on page 351 of your book. The problem that we're working here today is very similar to one of the ones you're going to be doing for your homework. I believe you're going to be doing problem 32A. So this one's very similar, it just has different numbers, different figures. I've gone on and kind of worked through this. I originally recorded this, and it took about 15 minutes to show you step by step with me typing in all the numbers and formatting it. And then when I got to the end of the video, I realized that my microphone was not turned on. So anyways, I think maybe you guys will appreciate me giving you a condensed version that's maybe only 5 or 6 minutes instead of the extended cut that was closer to 15. So basically what we're doing in this problem here is we are learning how much FICA tax this person is going to owe on their wages. So FICA tax is comprised of two things: Social Security tax, which is 6.2%, and Medicare tax, which is 1.45%. So, okay, this is the employee's half of it, right? So the employer pays the other half. Now you'll know that, or you should have noticed that in 2011, employees actually only owed 4.2%. This was something that they decided to do to try to stimulate the economy. And right now, as we speak, this has been extended for 2 months, for January and February of this year, and likely also it's going to end up going all the way through 2012. Nobody knows for sure at this point. We're waiting for Congress, and we're waiting for some decisions to be made. Now, your book uses the 6.2%, so that's what we're going to use in all the problems and all the quizzes and all that good stuff. Okay, so let's get to work here. Problem 32B, page 351. Let's read what it says. It says, during 2012, Maddie Connors, president of Maggart Company, was paid a semi-monthly salary of $5,200. Compute the amount of FICA taxes that should be withheld from her. Okay, so each of her checks is going to be the same amount, $5,200. So she's paid this twice a month. Sounds like a pretty good paying job. Now, we're going to have to keep one thing in mind here. There's a difference between these two taxes. I told you that the Medicare tax is 1.45%. It doesn't matter how much you make. If you make $1 million, $10 million, whatever, you're going to pay 1.45% is the employee's share of Medicare tax that they're going to have to pay. Okay? With Social Security tax, you only owe this tax on the first $110,100 of your earnings. So if, let's say you have a job and all you make during the entire year is $50,000. Well, every cent of that, you're going to be paying this 6.2% amount on. If you had a high-paying job, let's say you made $200,000, you're going to owe the 6.2% tax on the first $110,100 of your wages. Once you reach that point, nothing else is subject to that 6.2 Social Security tax. So let's start working on the problem here. So they say on the 9th paycheck, how much is she going to owe in Social Security tax, and how much is she going to owe in Medicare tax? Okay, so the dollar amount of the paycheck is $5,200. And what we need to figure out here is we need to figure out, hey, at this point, when she receives her 9th paycheck, is she going to be above this $110,100 maximum amount that's subject to Social Security? Right? The answer to that is that she's not, right? Okay, so 5,200 times 9 gives us $46,800. That's well below the $110,100 maximum. So, $5,200, the full amount is subject to this 6.2%. So, down here in the yellow box, I just simply said box E10, which is $5,200, times 6.2% gives us $322.40 that's subject to Social Security tax. Okay, with Medicare, the full amount of each paycheck is going to be subject to the Medicare tax. 5,200 times 1.45% gives us $75.40 that's subject to Medicare tax. Let's take a look at the 22nd paycheck. Now, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen here on this 22nd paycheck. She is going to have made $114,400, right? So $5,200 times 22, her 22nd paycheck, she will be at this point, $114,400. Now, I'm working this a little differently than the way things are explained to you in the book. I think it's beneficial to see things worked a different way because maybe it'll make a little more sense to you to see it explained differently. Okay, so let's take a look here. On her 22nd paycheck, she will have earned $114,400. The maximum amount that's subject to Social Security tax is $110,100. The difference between those is $4,300. So what we have here, this is a situation. On her 22nd paycheck, $4,300 of this $5,200 total is above the maximum amount, right? The difference between the total amount of her paycheck and the amount that exceeded the maximum is $900. So what we have here is a paycheck. We have to look at it in two different components. The first component, this $900, is subject to Social Security tax. It's 6.2%, which gives us a total Social Security tax for this paycheck of $55.80. This $4,300 is not going to be taxed for Social Security purposes. Let's take a look at her 24th paycheck. Now we know here the 22nd paycheck put her over the threshold. So on her 24th paycheck, if I also say $5,200 times 24, that's going to give me what? $124,800. Well, we know that every cent of this $5,200 paycheck is above the $110,100 maximum, right? We established that earlier. So her 22nd paycheck put her above that threshold. Okay? So we say if you wanted to multiply this by something, you would say 5,200 times, what's the tax rate? 0%. She doesn't know anything. So 5,200, every cent of that is not subject to Social Security tax. Okay? Once again, I forgot to even mention the Medicare tax over here for the 22nd. It's going to stay the same for each of these paychecks. Each of her checks is the same dollar amount, $5,200. 1.45% stays the same. So each of her paychecks, she's going to owe the exact same amount of Medicare tax. Okay, so remember, the maximum amount for 2012 is $110,100. This typically changes from year to year. Sometimes it might not change every single year, but this thing normally is going to change this maximum amount. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to help you. Please email me.